said something interesting about, you had a sports agency company that you owned. So, I've never interviewed a sports agent, so this is really cool. I'm having fun right now. I hope everybody else is too, by the way. How did that start? Listen, you were at Vanderbilt, right? How does somebody become a sports agent? That's really cool to me.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of probably, it's a lot of cliche, right? It's about putting yourself in a position to succeed.
Yep.
Right. And it's about going that extra mile and creating your own luck. Whatever cliches you can think of, that's basically what the sports industry is. So throughout my high school and collegiate career, I always interned. And
did you know you wanted to do this, though?
I knew it from the beginning.
So you knew you wanted to represent athletes?
I took a journey even on that path, right?
Okay.
Because what I didn't realize that there were so many opportunities within sports.
Yep.
I always thought it was you just become a player agent and that's what you could do. As I did internships, one of the interesting things for me was to learn about what I did like and didn't like and all the other opportunities there were. There's thousands of different careers within sports that you can go.
Yeah.
And it was really important for me to understand what I was good at and what I enjoyed. So when it was time for me to really make a run at it, I'd already kind of decided the general direction that I wanted to go in.
Best use of your time.
Best use of my time, best use of opportunity,
Yeah.
less risk. But also it created relationships that then helped me later in life. And that's, I think, what everything's about, is about trust and relationships.
Yeah, to that point, relationship capital, we talk about relationship capital all the time. And to the degree that you maximize your relationship capital with integrity, right? Things change, people change, times change. Sometimes, in that relationship, there may not be the opportunity, but 3 or 4 years later, it could just show up at the front door, right? So it's about not burning bridges and being genuine and creating good relationships. All right, so now you're figuring out how to become a sports agent. You took the path that you felt that was let's call it safer but accelerated. And what did that look like?
So I did a lot of internships, and then I went to law school at the University of Miami. So
Awesome.
Between my first and second year, I interned at a small company in New Jersey, a startup sports marketing agency, and just worked my ass off. I mean, just got in at 7, left at 10 every night. Even if I didn't have anything to do, I was just there in case there was needed something to be done. And at the end of the summer, they offered me a job for a whopping $12,500.
What year was this?
This was 1995, maybe.
Wow.
1995. Okay. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do.
You loved it.
I loved it, and I was blessed that I was able to do it. I had an accident when I was younger, so I had a little bit of a nest egg through that. And I just said, you know what, if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in myself.
Yeah.
And I just took the shot, and I did it. And
you took that job.
I took that job.
Yeah.
I decided not to go back to law school, and I just said, this is why I'm going to law school, to get this opportunity.
Yep.
And I just went for it.
Wow.
And that's how it began.
And listen, 7 in the morning, 9, 10 at night, I totally get those hours. I understand that it's last man standings, burning the boat, taking over the island. Awesome. People see that and they watch your actions louder than your words. And as you know, action is, the biggest indicator or dictator of what's going to happen next predictably, right? As long as there's intentionality and congruency. With that being said, what does it look like after that? You're now, you put your flag down, right? Yep. Young kid, it's figuring out what to do next.
I mean, there was a lot of learning to be done, right? And so once again, it's about getting in the right position.
Yeah.
And so my initial boss is a guy named Frank Vuno, and he was incredibly talented, incredibly smart, tough boss. I mean, he was no nonsense. He was like old school dad, 6'5", the meat cleavers for hands. And I sat at his desk the whole day, and I would do everything from picking up his daughter at kindergarten, to sitting on meetings talking about the acquisition of NBA teams.
Wow.
But I just knew that if I put who knew who I was going to meet doing those errands. I mean, I think one of the greatest things that ever happened to me is he was working and I was assisting. I mean, I was basically a secretary at the time.
Yep.
And
just stay with us, folks, and watch where this story goes.
He was working on the acquisition of Toronto Raptors for a client named Isaiah Thomas. And it was before cell phones, really. right? You're still in the
He
day.
probably had that big.
He had the big car phone. Yeah, had the big car phone, and the faxes curly cued and all that. And probably a lot of people don't know what that means.
Oh boy!
And you had to go to microfiche at the library.
I remember
instead
the
of
microfiche. Yes.
Google, etc.
When I was cold calling on Wall Street, it was microfiche.
Yeah, it was microfiche. So he would every day give me a list of answers for questions, and then a list of questions for Isaiah. And Isaiah would go to his game, he would watch the game, and then after the game, he would call the office. And I was basically, in the beginning, I was just the guy that'd say, okay, Isaiah, the answers to the first 10 questions from last night are these 10 answers.
Yep.
And then here's 3 questions that my boss has for you. And then do you have any questions? And I'll bring them back. And so this happened for 7 months. And
Every day you on the phone with Isaiah?
Every day, every night.
Wow.
And he would call anywhere between 9:30 and 11.
Did he build rapport with you during that time?
And
I'm interested.
Yeah, and so we literally became friends through me just becoming a secretary.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how we built a relationship. And to me, that's always stuck, that no matter what job you're given, you can get something out of it.
So let me ask you a question for all the folks that are watching. Anyone that's older than 40 may know that Isaiah Thomas is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, 2-time NBA champ, won an NCAA championship as a freshman at Indiana, went to the NBA right after that, once scored 16 points against the Knicks in like a minute and a half, against him and Kelly Tripucka from New Jersey as well.
Yep.
Can you call Isaiah right now and say hello?
Yeah, probably.
See, relationship capital. That's what I'm talking about, relationship capital. Jordan, in his own words, ego subjugation, right?
Yep.
You know, what did you know at such an early age, the importance of head down work and ego subjugation? Must have been taught by your dad and your mom.
My mom and dad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where everything, I mean, the family
amazing.
Is so important, right? The
So
work
impressed.
ethic. I think that's something, and I know this probably is not the popular thing to say today, but this generation, we failed as parents. We failed this generation because I think the greatest thing a parent can teach a child is a response to failure. And we don't let our children fail. And so then you know, everything's about participation and celebration. Someone yesterday said to me, it's like cheering for a fish to swim, right? Like, all right, well, you got to figure it out, right? So that's what I was taught. Is I came from a very loving home, but a very blunt home.
Yep.
Like, all right, if you're going to fail, that's okay, but what's the response?
Yes. How do you get off the canvas?
How do you get off the canvas?
Love it.
And you know, become a little tougher and a little smarter and a little wiser, and you learn what not to do. And if someone's always catching you before you fall, you never learn what not to do or what to do.
Yep.